This Pittsburgh Steelers team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million at Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with SGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks and projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hi, this is Merrill Hodge, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog. Sean, when did we first become Steelers fans?
You know, it's funny you say that because I did a Circa Millions contest with my buddies from high school, and it was 4 of us. The formula was we each get one pick, and then we picked the Eagles. Got off to a great start,
okay,
much
great
like the
strategy.
Eagles. Almost won the first quarter.
Yes.
I think we're almost, meaning like we needed a good week. That last week didn't get it, but the running joke is, oh, Sean, you're this massive Steelers fan. I'm like, I guess I am, because this team covers the spread a ton of times, and it feels, if you're listening to this team preview, there's going to be a lot of things that you could just go back and, unfortunately or fortunately, listen to the same team previews and have similar thoughts of like the market doesn't adjust ever to the idea that Tomlin is a guy who wins a bunch of games. I mean, especially with TJ Watt. TJ Watt, Ryan, 19 sacks last year. Mike Tomlin, of course, we all know, no losing seasons. 17 straight seasons of 8+ wins under Tomlin. But I mean, the TJ Watt with and without splits are insane. Steelers record with TJ Watt, 69, 33 and 2.
Is that good?
I couldn't find the ATS record, but I mean, you know, these Steelers games, a lot of times they're either a dog, or if they are a favorite, it's a favorite under 3 points. Like, I mean, I haven't even looked at the game of the year line spreads, but I'm sure they're not going to be favored by 3.5 a lot of these times. So if you're 69,
it's going to blow your mind. They're only favored 6 times.
Yeah. I mean, they're 69, 33 and 2 straight up. So a lot of those are in dogs. Like, that's why they are.
They do not have a game where they are projected to be a dog of more than 3 points until week 13.
Yeah.
So that explains, like, they're either a small favorite or a small dog. In
so if their straight up
game.
record is good, it really a lot of times tracks with their ATS record. And you look at, like, okay, so this has got to break, right? Like last year, they caught some breaks. They were they had a +11 turnover differential. But let's go back through the years. +4, +2, +9.
That's a lot of regression,
8.
Sean.
You have to go back to 2018, the last time they had a negative turnover differential, and it was -11. You know what the record? 9-6-1. They still, even with a -11 turnover differential, still figured out. Now that was with Big Ben, but I mean, we talked about it when we did the episode on quarterbacks we want to bet on. You know, Kenny Pickett's ATS record was good. Was it because Kenny Pickett was good? No, of course
Clearly not. Clearly not.
They drafted him in the first round, had him on a rookie contract, and we're like, no, we don't even want you competing for a backup job.
Yeah,
that's how bad they are. And look at 9-2, 80% in 1-score games. So that sounds something like it would regress, but they're 31-11 in their last 4 seasons. Like, at some point, winning close games, having a positive turnover differential, to me, it is coaching. It's organization. Like,
what do you think? What do you think happened that at some point caused the smart people of the world to be anti-Tomlin? Is it because he defies their numbers?
Well, I think the regression stuff is always looking like, oh, the Steelers team, they got lucky, because it really is a classic. You got to know ball to watch the Steelers team, and they win ugly close games all the time. That's their bread and butter. That's their formula. Defense is always going to be good, especially you put a guy like TJ Watt on there. And then even, back end, Minka Fitzpatrick, like they have weapons around TJ Watt. And even if you just had TJ Watt and 10 other capable starters, you would be in a pretty good situation. Now, usually when it goes sideways for them, I feel like it's if they don't have an offensive line, but they brought in Sayamalu last year. They keep drafting, spending draft capital, and probably a good time to bring up the additions. Here they keep bringing in, loading up on the offensive line, and seems to be paying off.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also going all the way back to, all right, they've been due for regression for a while.
Yeah,
it hasn't happened. You kind of explained the thesis as to why. I think you didn't mention too much about Tomlin being very good at getting people out of his locker room when it's time to get them out of the locker rooms. Now, we haven't seen a Deontay Johnson situation other than the fact that he went to dinner with his new head coach and didn't know it was his new head coach. But what maybe we'll learn something about Kenny Pickett. Maybe with going to a quarterback room with a fragile leader and Jaylen Hurts might cause some controversy. I'm just seeing what's being reported out there. And so
fragile.
I do think that clearly the move was to not just change, but change everything on the offensive side of the ball. Tomlin probably had a meeting with George Pickens where he's like, yeah, dude, I want you to get the ball more. Don't worry. And he probably had a meeting with Najee Harris and says, yeah, dude, I want you to get the ball more.
Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren.
Trust me, I got a guy for you. Calls up Arthur Smith. He's like, hey, Art, you still want to run the ball 55% of the time and then throw the ball deep every once in a while? Yeah. Let's fucking go.
Now, Ryan, we are, of course, if you're watching live, and you should be watching live, youtube.com/sports gambling podcast. Get in on the chat. We will be joined by Britton, Hess, Steelers insider, in just a few moments here. But we're taping this on the morning, August 7th, 10:20 a.m. Now, there has not been an announcement yet, but my sources close to the situation believe Brandon Ayuk will be suiting up as a Pittsburgh Steeler this year. I think they are. My prediction is they will be getting the deal done. I think they have a trade in place. They're working on the finishing touches on the contract, and I think that's going to give this offense another nice boost. I mean, you bring in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and Justin Fields, there's some buzz. I thought it was going to be Russ. Hands down, but they're not tied to Russ. And I think Justin Fields actually in this offense certainly has a much higher ceiling.
We gotta pull the clip from earlier in the year when we said Justin Fields is going to get a chance in the preseason. Maybe we said the preseason games, but it clearly had happened before that where so Tomlin is not going to let a guy who the locker room notices not be the starter.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, the Freiermuth interview, he was talking about Justin Fields as if he was the starting quarterback, which I thought was pretty interesting. And
what do you think Arthur Smith wants?
Yeah, I mean,
an extra running back in the backfield. Yes, please.
And even if, and we'll see if they offer a Justin, like if Russell Wilson gets a start, will they offer a Justin Fields first touchdown? Because if they are, I'm going to be playing it. A Justin Fields anytime touchdown. They really have some opportunities to get creative here with Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, and some 12 personnel. I would like to hit on one addition, Patrick Queen. If you saw Tomlin's interview describing Patrick Queen, his eyes lit up, and he goes, it felt like this guy was a Steelers player, like, that we groomed this guy because he came in doing all the right things. Like they were very high about the addition of Patrick Queen. And if he can pair up nicely with TJ Watt, just another nice thing for their defense and the offensive line. 9th according to PFF. I mean, whatever your rankings.
Well, they reinforced it big time. They went out and the draft was about getting linemen. Even the kid out of South Dakota State, the guard, there was a lot of people who liked that pick. And we'll see. Roman Wilson, maybe that was a piece. We'll see. I mean, he's still banged up, right?
Yeah, he's a rookie.
But Van Jefferson is even flat. I get it. It's 7-on-7 shit. But I there's nothing they did again, I trust Tomlin, so I'm assuming if the people that are gone for a like he literally shot his whole quarterback room. He's so gangster. He said, "You're all gone. You're all out of here. You lazy ass receivers. You're all the fuck out of here."
Yep.
I mean, I love it.
So they were coming off a season where they were 10-7 straight up, 10-7 ATS.
10-7. I thought we were talking about a team that went 5-12 last year.
Their win total is 8.5. We were both on the over. We both got that correct. So we've gone through now with the Steelers, 17 teams. Our 2023 win total records. I'm sitting at 12-5. You're at 11-6. Ryan, nice run here for the show. And of course, friendly reminder, the phrase that pays. Each team preview episode, we will reveal a word. The word is part of a 32 word phrase. At the end of the 32 words, you submit your phrase. One lucky winner gets a $500 NFL Circa future. Obviously, you have to submit all 32 words correctly in order. The Steelers team preview word, it. IT. That's
wow. It. As in Mike Tomlin has it.
He does.
As in the spreadsheets can't capture it.
They have something. We are perpetually high on the Steelers. All right.
Can I throw one last player in the Peyton Wilson pick? He's another guy pre-draft process. A lot of people were saying very nice things about him. Seems like he could be in it. It would not shock me. I mean, again, Arthur Smith was hired as a head coach because his offense with Ryan Tannehill was so good.
That's all you need. Case closed.
Like talk about a phrase that pays. So he must be just cranking it to the idea of Justin Fields and Cordell Patterson and Jaylen Warren in the the backfield.
Yeah, Jaylen Warren and Najee. I think they're both pretty good.
Beautiful.
And Najee is efficient enough with all the volume he gets, and Jaylen Warren, legit explosive. You know what?
Tyler Algier was not efficient. That doesn't matter to Arthur Smith.
No.
Can you carry the ball into the line of scrimmage hard? Yes. Good.
You're good. Of course, underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN. Sign up. We're going to be joined in a second here by Britton Hess, who hosts the Daily Dog, our underdog pick'em themed podcast. So every day, Monday through Friday, quick little 10-minute episode. Give you a little action, a little sweat here for some underdog pick'em. He covers it all too. All different types of pick'ems, all different types of slips. I know he's been getting some Olympic stuff, some tennis stuff, some MLB. If you're waking up here a summer morning, you're looking for a little sweat, little action, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em is a great way to play. Available in so many states, including California, Texas, and my favorite state, Canada. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. Get that deposit match when you use the promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Sports. Circa Million, Circa Survivor, $16 million up for grabs. 16 million guaranteed, courtesy of Derek Stevens. No rake, which means 100% payback to the players. Super fun contests. Again, a Survivor, 10 million. Yes, sir. 6 million for the Circa Millions. We just had Chris Farley on of Farley Bets. You saw him with the giant check for what, 140K. That could be you living the dream. The contests are so fun. They got quarterly prizes for the millions as well. So even if you get off to a rough start, you still have a chance to cash in. Really, really nice. And of course, come sign up in Nevada, play from anywhere. Come out contest weekend, August 22nd through the 24th. We'll be there. They have a bunch of open bar events, and use our promo code SGP15 at the hotel checkout, get you 15% off. And of course, when you're using your proxy, if you're outside of Nevada and you just come to sign up, well, you hire our proxy, Vegas Manny. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com. Use the promo code SGP. Get $50 off your proxy fees. He's going to hook you up. Of course, circusports.com.
Sean,
yes.
Before we bring Britton on, I think we should. I sent Josh a video that I think it would be pertinent to get us before we have just a little bit of a reminder of who maybe the listener's not aware of who Mike Tomlin is. Maybe they're new to football. But if you recall, Sean, there was this gem.
Oh, this is great.
Still for the win, man.
One more time.
Still for the win, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
Coach Tomlin. Still for the win, man.
I'm working over here.
He wanted nothing to do with that jabron.
Yeah, this guy's just holding a selfie camera and saying like, "Hey, coach, let's go for the win." Man, I'm working over here. I don't have time for your clown shit. I'm like Tomlin.
Did you see the picture of his? He took a picture of his some sort of sick ass shoes and posted them on Instagram, and everyone's just like, "All right, betting the over again."
Tradition unlike any other. Joining us on the line, the host of the Daily Dog podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, Pittsburgh fan, Pittsburgh insider, Mr. Britton Hess. Britton, thank you for hopping on the line. What's happening, man?
Oh, it's great to be on the mothership here, the OG gambling podcast. I appreciate it. And from what I've heard already, you guys get it. You guys understand that this Steelers team is like the bane of every analytics guy's existence. It always has been, always will be. We can get into that more as we progress into this season preview. But I'm happy you guys aren't just being like, well, EPA on third down on the road is really bad, so I can't trust them.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at even the advanced, the DVOA stuff. It's like 6th in defense, 15th in offense, and they'll probably run that back again. Where they're definitely, knock on wood, health permitting. How do they not have a top 10 defense? And then their offense will be right there in the middle, nice and average, not turning the ball over a ton. But I think, especially once this Ayuk trade happens, assuming it does, I think there is a little ceiling case for this Pittsburgh offense. And there is, and I think if you're high on the Steelers getting into those double-digit wins and maybe even doing something in the playoffs, I know Steelers fans maybe get annoyed at the Tomlin winning record every year because they haven't done much in the playoffs. I think there's maybe some fans that find that annoying, but I think if Ayuk gets traded to them, there might be a ceiling to this offense. Where are you big picture with this team, Britton?
I mean, I think that they definitely could be a playoff team. If Ayuk gets in there, that's even better. It's kind of funny you're talking about, people are getting frustrated with them because they're not winning a Super Bowl every year. And you sound like my drunk uncles back in Pittsburgh who've wanted Tomlin fired since year one because whatever reason, despite him being, right now, is he the best coach in the NFL just for the full body of work? Obviously, like McVay and Shanahan are obviously really good, but they haven't been doing it as long. And Tomlin never losing record. They've never finished last in the division. In the entirety of the NFC or AFC North, they've never finished last in the division. So it goes pre-Tomlin. It's extremely consistent. And I think that, you're talking about the ceiling case, and everything about them is actually mostly about the floor. Everybody on the team, no matter what, is basically a role player. Obviously, like Antonio Brown will be an outlier when he's in his prime, and TJ Watt is special. But everyone literally is a role player. Like, it's not as he literally, as you pointed out earlier, he fired the entire QB room. Like you just have a job to do. And if you're not doing that job, you're out of there. I don't care how good you are individually. Like if I need you to get 4 yards and you're getting 3, you're going to be out of here. If I need you to, have a positive turnover ratio, then do it. And actually Kenny Pickett that's why he won so many games, is because he didn't turn the ball over. I think he went on like an 8-10 game streak last year without throwing an interception. So again, this team is obviously frustrating because their roster isn't built. They don't play like they're trying to win in Madden or fantasy football or anything. They're literally built to win AFC North games by 2 points. That's literally the whole goal is every single year. And that's what they usually do.
Yeah, no, as a fan, they should be excited of like, hey, we get into the playoffs almost every year. At the very least, we're in that hunt graphic. And really, as an NFL fan, that's really what you can hope for. And then maybe you get that ceiling little run, you get hot in the playoffs. But it's not like the NBA where the playoffs are a given. This is the NFL, even with 7 teams getting to the playoffs, competing in the AFC North. And again, we're going to look at their schedule. Their schedule is always graded super tough because the other teams in the AFC North, their win totals are super high.
Yeah, and also you just got to split it. But all right. So I have not heard one person reference this entire offseason. Arthur Smith, when he was the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, 8th points per game 2019, 4th points per game 2020. That 2020 season, he was good for 5th in DVOA on offense. You want to talk about a ceiling case? Yeah. Somehow, Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback. He was literally a converted wide receiver in college. This makes so much sense. Guess what? We all remember those teams 28th in defense too. So not only was he a great offense, he was doing so with a maybe that helped, but doing so efficiently with a bad defense as well. I think the case where their offense creeps into the top 10 as like the hot take of the year, this team could very well. And I know they're not going to play fast, but I have a feeling they're going to score more points than people are expecting.
Well, especially if Russell Wilson's in there or even Fields, and they get the play action's going to be so easy to set up with Jaylen Ward, with Najee Harris. And Russ still likes taking those deep shots. Justin Fields has had some success throwing the deep ball.
Both quarterbacks do is the deep ball. Like,
yeah,
no question. So
you get Pickens running down there, or even Van Jefferson.
We're getting
and Ayuk.
Full lather.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the other thing I would say is and I'd like Britton's comment on this as a fan, but it seems like Freiermuth's going to get a lot of activity in this offense, and he doesn't seem like his market is priced accordingly.
Yeah, there's a little tease for some best bets coming up with Freiermuth involved. But yeah, we're talking about Russell Wilson. It's like he was created in a lab to run this offense. You know what I mean? He's a semi-mobile quarterback who likes to hand the ball off, fine to check it down to the tight ends, and then will surprise you with a very accurate deep ball every once in a while. You know, he's had like 20 plus passing touchdowns every season outside of his first season with the Broncos, which was obviously just a total horrible situation where, you know, he thought it was going to be Peyton Manning reincarnate, but that's obviously not who he is. Then last year when they actually kind of played to his strengths, he had another super efficient season on a very bad team. So I think that the fact that he is playing in this system where everybody's a role player, there's not too much, you know, pressure to do more than you're asked to do, kind of like what he did managing the offense for Pete Carroll for all those years. Really does make a case for the offense. And yeah, they could be a top 10 offense. I mean, I think they're definitely going to be one of the most efficient offenses. You know, Russell Wilson's not going to pass for 5,000 yards, but his TD interception ratio could be great. His accuracy numbers could be great. And, you know, and their conversion rates on third and even fourth downs and stuff could be really, really good, because you guys talked about the multiple running backs they have, all the different pass catching options they have. I mean, you know, one thing that I haven't really seen yet, but on a weekly basis, I might be getting into the Cameron Hayward or anytime TD market because not Cameron Hayward, sorry, his brother. Because
I recognized who you were talking about.
yeah. No, I was talking about Connor Hayward. The double C names are confusing by the parents there, but Connor Hayward, because Russell Wilson loves throwing TDs to backup tight ends. Like, how many times would like Will Dissly all of a sudden be a major red zone target when he's like third on the depth chart for the Seahawks back in the day? So, you know, I think that there's obviously a lot of guys that will be able to surprise, and I think the ball is going to be spread around a lot here. Even if Ayuk gets there, you know, I don't think he's going to come in and be a 1,500-yard receiver with 15 receiving touchdowns. I think that, again, they'll just try to use him the best way possible. I mean, this is a throwback, but when Mike Vick was the Steelers, you know, the VT Steelers connection, when Mike Vick was the Steelers quarterback, there was controversy because they were winning games, but he wasn't throwing to Antonio Brown enough. Antonio Brown needed the ball, and it's like, hey, this is the Steelers. We just try to win. We don't care what it looks like. You know, you'll hear a lot of analytics guys complaining because, you know, their best bet on the Steelers get smoked on the road as a 6-point underdog, didn't come home because they won the game with 86 passing yards. You know, that's just the rules of the game with this team.
Yeah, that's them. This is their team. At some point, yeah, okay, if they randomly had a plus 11 turnover margin, then okay, fine, that was an outlier. But when you're consistently having positive turnover margin, yeah, maybe they won't have plus 11, but they still could have plus 6, and that's all they really need.
The anytime touchdown market for this team is going to be very fun, because
especially early before people catch on.
Worth noting, because after Freiermuth, who I think is going to be a healthy target in the offense, Darnell Washington, the guy that we've dabbled with before.
Yeah.
As Britton mentioned, Connor Hayward, but also we know that Cordero Patterson was brought over by Arthur Smith.
Yes.
He also brought over Pruitt.
Yeah, I was going to say
another reserve tight end, which, I mean, Arthur Smith is a man who is, his loyalty to Cordero Patterson is unmatched. So if he's bringing a guy in for the offense, I have a feeling there's a player or two he's got drawn up there. But yeah, I mean, we actually might see some form of triple option in the NFL this year. I believe
it's going to be.
I believe
it'll be interesting to see this offense. Russ as quarterback, Justin Fields next to him as a running back.
What do you do? He takes the toss and starts. What do you do? That's unguardable. Arthur Smith, please give us that play.
Britton, what would you say? And I agree with you, but I've heard people say that Russ Wilson doesn't want to throw across the middle of the field, and in an Arthur Smith offense, you got to throw to the middle of the field. Do you think there's any credence to that? Do you think Russell Wilson is a good match for Arthur Smith? I mean, it seems like you're high on it as well. I think they're just going to figure out ways to work around that, or I don't think it's as much as a handicap as people think. But what's your take on the Russ not throwing to the middle of the field in this offense?
Well, Russ will throw to the open guy and protect the ball more than anything. And
yeah,
obviously a little bit more with Jaylen Warren than Najee Harris, but they can attack the edges, make people aware of the boundaries, especially if Ayuk gets in a Steelers uniform. So I think that if there's space, he'll do it. And again, Freiermuth's a giant target over the middle. And I mean, I don't think that he's going to shy. I think that he's just going to take what's available. So, you know what I mean? I think it comes down to the scheme. I don't think that he's going to say, actually, I'm going to throw into double coverage, because I think that linebacker might make a move on Freiermuth, on his 8-yard in route. I think it's just, I think that's kind of, I mean, obviously it's been a thing for a long time, but also I think that it's kind of like handicapping the results after we already know them, because again, he hasn't been in this offense yet. We haven't seen him play with this team yet. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's just going to take what's available and try to protect the ball as best as possible. And he's not going to hamper the offense by refusing to throw over the middle.
Yeah.
Well, and I've heard a lot of people say this. This feels like one of these takes that started and then just got out of control. If you actually go back and look at Ryan Tannehill and Arthur Smith in those offenses, it was really a lot more about the deep shots. It was more about the explosive plays, more so than the intermediate pass over the middle. And I think when you look at the talent that the Steelers have, I mean, literally Pickens is built to run down the field. Freiermuth as a pass catcher has versatility, but when he was coming out, he had that vertical ability. And so when you have this kind of interesting multiple run game, you're going to take shots. You brought in 2 quarterbacks that are horrible at the intermediate. I shouldn't say Russ is horrible, but they're not great at the intermediate.
Touch throws are
by
not.
all accounts, Sean Payton was pissed that he wasn't throwing over the middle for his on the Broncos. And so, yeah, I think that's a non-story to me.
Well, we know that there were wide open receivers for the Broncos last year that Russell was just ignoring the whole time, right? Because it was a super deep receiving core.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like revisionist history is very interesting. And I do think even if you go back to how the best of Russ was in Seattle, it was a lot of that. He wasn't necessarily throwing over the middle there either. And it was working. Deep shots, run the ball, play defense. Sounds a little bit like what the Seahawks could be, or the Steelers could be this year.
Let's go. Here we go, Steelers. Let's take a look at their odds right now. Current, and then we'll hop into the schedule. Win total sitting at 8.5. I feel like, in Britton, you may have had a better eye on it, but didn't this open at 7.5? Am I crazy?
There was a flat 8 out there.
Okay.
There might have been like a very brief 7.5.
Juiced, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably get into it when we look at the schedule, but yeah, it's kind of hilarious that this is the win total based on like their look ahead lines on when they're favored and when they're not. And then obviously everybody makes a big deal of their schedule. We'll get into it more, but I mean, I think that 8-1 division price is okay. I don't necessarily. They just want to make the playoffs and they want to win division games. And as you know, in the NFL, your division record is like the last, tiebreaker after your overall record. So it's not. I would honestly, when we get more markets and we get finishing position, I would take 2 and 3 at plus money because they've never finished last in this division as long as it's existed. And they are then, and again, if they do get towards that ceiling case, obviously they're very live to win this division because they're going to play all their team. At least 6 games are going to be very close games or at least highly contested games when they're in their division. And then the rest of them, who knows, they'll play to the level of their competition on a week-to-week basis. So anything is pretty much possible.
So yeah, make playoffs is plus 164, division 8-1, conference 25-1, Super Bowl 50-1.
I mean, and I saw playoffs even up at plus 185 somewhere. So again, I think that's
betting against them right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The schedule nerds have like Britton's alluding to, like they're like, wait a second. They're only favored in 6 of these games.
And we always worry or give people the heads up that like fantasy stuff impacts the market. So
people hate Arthur.
If this, which is great right now, but if a guy that probably people already drafted a ton of Ayuk in underdog best ball, if he ends up on the Steelers, you're not going to be getting plus 185 to make the playoffs. I don't know if it's enough to move the win total, but I do think you'll hear a lot of Johnny come latelys hop on that Steelers
Sean,
after the Ayuk trade.
I have one share of Brandon Ayuk. I also happen to have Justin Fields on that team. Yeah.
Love it when a plan comes together. All right, let's walk through the schedule, see where we are at on this Steelers team.
All right, so break it up into quadrants, 4 at a time, except for the weird game at the end. Again, like we've been mentioning, they are an AFC team, so only 8 home games this year. According to the numbers, they have the toughest schedule. As Sean mentioned earlier, that's kind of a gimmick for the same reason the South divisions tend to have easier schedules. The North division, or this North division, tends to have harder schedules. And like I said earlier, 6 favorites, but there are a lot of these numbers that are right around a pick and could move very easily to adjust this over the course of the season. All right, at another team, Sean. Again, we haven't had too many with 3 home games to start the year. 3 out of 4. A lot with 3 road games at Atlanta, at Denver, Chargers at home, and then at Indy. So 2 road dome games here. Worth noting. I mean, the Arthur Smith revenge game is
big, and then it
ridiculous.
Leads right into the Russell Wilson probably revenge game if assuming he gets the job. Chargers at home, I'm cautiously okay on the Chargers, but man, that TJ Watt against a quarterback dealing with plantar fascia and not being mobile. I think that could be trouble, and especially if the Chargers O line isn't fully synced up yet. I don't know. I want to go. I'm going to get crazy here.
Just so the spreads in these games are all projected. Like Pittsburgh's either favored or a dog of less than a field goal. So
which is their wheelhouse.
They're coin flip games.
I think I'll go crazy. I'll go 3-1. I mean, it is 3 road games. But I think
like Denver early in the season.
I do, and at Denver in week 2 is a really tough spot. So honestly, I think that might be the one they lose because it's a back-to-back road spot. But yeah, Chargers at home, I like. Falcons, I think I'm going to be on the Steelers, and then even that Colts game, I think they can sneak that one out. So I'll go 3-1. Kramer.
Oh, that's pretty optimistic. I was going to be reasonable.
2-2's
go 2-2
is in the mix. Britton, how say you first 4 games?
Honestly, what I looked at it, I thought 3-1 was probably, like a very viable option. And I just look at that Colts game and I'm like, all right, this is going to be the game where they either kill everyone's 6-point teaser and lose by 10 points, or they win by 20. And you're like, why did I even put him a teaser? I should have money lined him,
Yes.
Because that's just kind of, again, that's just the way of the game or the way that the games obviously a lot of times turn out with Mike Tomlin is that like, it's usually not close one way or another when they are playing these non-divisional games. But again, the Falcons, I mean, I heard your guys' team preview and it's just like Kirk Cousins, a bad team gets a pretty good quarterback and now they're just going to be really good. That doesn't really make sense to me. It's obviously a whole new staff and a lot of new moving parts. So that being, 2.5 point underdog situation is a little bit weird to me. The Broncos is a weird one. That feels like one of the games that they might just they just literally don't care. They show up with the most vanilla offense and defense ever, and they might lose it. Chargers, again, so many moving parts with a new scheme, some injuries and all sorts of stuff that they're dealing with there. And then, that Colt game is probably not going to be anywhere near 1.5 either way by the time it finishes.
So officially 3-1, Britton?
Officially, I'll take it.
All right.
When I rethink about this and I say Tomlin defense versus a new offense in Atlanta, a rookie quarterback in Denver, as you mentioned, a quarterback with a bum leg in Los Angeles,
and then a rookie in there.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean
4-0.
4-0. Wow.
Sorry, I need to upgrade that.
Ryan went from 2-2 to 4-0. That was quite the swing.
I don't see a loss anymore.
No, I think they will be 2-1 through those first 3, and then obviously I think that Colts game. But
if Russ plays, we're going to hear about some impassioned speech before the game about how Denver tried to affect his family's livelihood.
Yeah, it's
going to be great.
That Denver spot to me, week 2 in Mile High is always tricky, but I'll go 3-1. So 3-1, 3-1. Kramer 4-0.
All right, week 5, Dallas, Sunday night football. Then we have at the Vegas Raiders. I do think the Steelers might be the home team in that one. We'll see how Antonio Pierce is doing.
Oh, that was
point.
great. They really showed up last time.
Which could I've heard Antonio Pierce calling for all Raiders fans, so we'll see. The Pirates are coming home, and then we have a Jets Giants back to back, but they're both in Pittsburgh, and they're both primetime games. So Steelers getting some primetime love early in the season here with 3 night games in 4 weeks. A lot of winnable games here as well, Sean.
I'm going 3-1. I think that Raiders game, they match up well against that team. And you saw it. I mean, I think it could be they won last year in Las Vegas, right, Britton?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it could be kind of a similar setup.
They're going to be the home team.
Yeah. I
they were last year.
Yeah. I think the obviously they'll destroy the Cowboys, but, the Jets, I think, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to be, especially outdoors in that environment, non-conference road spot for them.
The game you circle is that Tomlin laying 4 points.
Yeah,
that's not a safe range to be playing. Tomlin.
It is actually. You could see them messing up that game, like a big win against the Jets, and then laying a dud against the Giants, because that is the danger with the Steelers. They will lay some eggs every once in a while. To Britton's point, if it's like a non-division, especially a non-conference game where they're favored, that kind of is where you don't want them. But I'll go 3-1 because 3 home games and then a pseudo home game against the Raiders. I like 3-1. Kramer, what are you doing?
I do think the Steelers have had the Giants number recently. I think the last time the Giants beat the Steelers was back in the Eli Super Bowl stretch there. It might have even been the season that Plax shot himself in the leg, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I guess 3-1, but I will say this, make a mental note because we're going to play Steelers last undefeated team. I mean, this is a they don't have there's nothing in here unless you think the Cowgirls are going to be good this year. There's nothing in here. Maybe my Giants in week 8. Do I dare say 4-1? I'll go 3-1.
3-1. So you got him 7-1, Ryan. Look out. Here we go. Indeed. Britton, you were supposed to be the homer, but you're sitting here at 3-1. Can you keep pace with Ryan and I's Steeler love?
No, I'm going 3-1 again. And I just feel like this Cowboys game, I feel like the Cowboys could win and, could win by 10 points and they celebrate their, second quarter of the season championship. Yeah. They're out there and Steelers stink. We're the best team. We got the legacy of the Cowboys is so much greater, blah, blah, blah. And then they fall off a map in the second half of the season and all that stuff. So I look forward to that. Obviously love to beat the Cowboys, but again, I could see them, this could be their Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy is a guy from Pittsburgh. So, good homecoming for him. And again, it's a non-conference, now obviously non-divisional game where I just it might be the Cowboys are up for this one, let's carrying the boats to Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football, marquee game. And then the Steelers are kind of disinterested. And then I could see them going to Vegas, playing in front of a traveling home crowd there and killing them again. Cause this 1 point is kind of crazy to me. Who is buying in on this Minshew McConnell QB show with, all right. But buying in on them is making them a 2-point dog to the Steelers, I think, unless they've just fixed all of their problems over the offseason. Maybe that happened. And then this Jets game is obviously there's a lot to, the Steelers as a home dog though is just kind of crazy, especially in a conference game. And the Jets, they're another team that everyone's like, well, Aaron Rodgers is back, who we haven't seen play well for 2+ years. So, they're just going to be awesome and everything is going to work for him all of a sudden. And then obviously the Giants, that's, as you astutely pointed out, that's the one where they're killing money line parlays. But I still think 3-1 is very viable. I think that the Raiders is a lock win, and then I make them the favorite in the Cowboys, Jets, and Giants games. But they'll probably lay an egg on one of them.
Kramer, next quadrant.
All right, middle of the season bye. Very,
Perfect.
very nice for Mr. Tomlin. Coming out. What's this? Another rookie at Washington. Baltimore at home, at Cleveland, at Cincy. Schedule's getting tougher here. We got another stretch where we have 3 road games in 4 weeks. We have the division part of the. I mean, they don't play a divisional game until week 11, Sean.
That's crazy.
And then it's like they play all divisional games plus Philly and Kansas City. It's wild. So the AFC North gets a full chop for me. So I'm just gonna give the home team the victory. I think they beat Washington, so I think they go 2-2 in this section.
This is certainly tough with the at Cleveland Thursday night after the Ravens game. Like that
don't overthink it. They're gonna lose. Just chop it. Just chop. Just
you love just chopping the division games,
it's
Ryan.
Easy. It's easy.
I'm coming in here. Well, now at Commanders, normally I would say I really like that, but is that a look ahead towards the Ravens at home the following week? Tomlin usually pretty good.
No, they're coming off a bye, dude. And if there's any chance that Jaden Daniels is getting any sort of buzz,
yeah. All right, I'll go. What was
a smash?
What you were 2-2, right?
2-2.
Yeah, I'll go 2-2. It's
2-2 is probably the optimistic take, right? If I'm
you're right.
honest.
I mean, 1-3, you could definitely make a case because of the 3 road games, and then even this Ravens at home. That's always a bloodbath. So I'll go 2-2.
Nice.
Britton, what do we like here?
The lines makers are ridiculous right here. AFC North games, the home team should be a 3-point favorite for every single one of these games. I don't care who's at quarterback. I don't care how many injuries are. Yeah. Home team should be a 3-point favorite. Steelers catching 3 at home versus the Ravens is hilarious. It's going to be another place where that people are going to be like, oh yeah, the Ravens, they're just so much better at every level, blah, 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 blah. And this is the epitome of the game that the Steelers win with 86 passing yards, because Lamar Jackson fumbles running up the sideline, there's a blocked field goal, all that good stuff. Obviously, I think that they should take care of business versus the Commanders. The Commanders are a team with a ton of problems. They don't have the pedigree of the Steelers team that goes back, 50 years of just being rock solid versus a team trying to understand. And coming off the bye as well is a great spot to, plan for a rookie QB who might be a little mobile. So that's one win. And then, I guess I can give them, I'll say 2-2 just to slow down my roll a little bit, because I don't think the Steelers are going to end the season as like a 15-win team. But yeah, so I'll say 2-2 in this stretch. But again, the catching 5 at the Bengals, take the 5 points. And then +3 versus Ravens, take that +3 again.
No, to your point, the home team should always be anytime. Ryan, I think we had it as a system of like AFC North. If there's a dog of 3 or more, it was always an auto fire.
I'm just imagining one of these games where somehow the Steelers like pass for 57 yards and run for 380 yards. I just give me one of those box scores so I can have Colby walk into the offense and be like, this is football, buddy.
So 8-4 for Britton and I. Kramer, the Steelers head here at 9-3. Last 5, not going to be easy though. This is really a tough stretch.
Yeah, they have a very difficult post-bye road slate, so there was always going to be more losses coming late. So we start back up, more divisional stuff. Browns. So they essentially play Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns in a 4-game stretch. That's brutal. Browns at home. At which who's the quarterback at this point, Sean? Not Deshaun Watson. At Philly, at Baltimore on a Saturday, and then on a short week they're going to play the Chiefs at home on Christmas on Netflix. Make sure you gotta. I assume everyone has access to Netflix, but if you don't, football is going to be on Netflix this year, guys. Warning. Make sure you still friends with your parents or whatever, get access to that. I don't see how I can. This and then Cincy to close out the year. So again, you play 6 divisional games from week 11 on, and the non-divisional games you play are the Eagles in Philly and the Chiefs on a short week. That the schedule makers were not kind here. They will win the Cincy game. They will win the Cleveland game because I'm chopping the divisional games, but I think the rest of them have to be losses. Unless I want. So what is that? If I go 2-3, Sean, where do I finish?
You finish a reasonable 11-6. I'm with you. 2-3.
That seems right. 2-3.
2-3.
But there might be. But if
no, and again, there are some like if
3-2. Give me 3-2.
3-2.
I think they spoil the Swifties Netflix extravaganza.
Well, obviously they're going to lose the Eagles, so that's a loss.
Well, that's
Browns. I like. I think they win one against Ravens or Chiefs. I don't think they lose both. I think that is kind of when you want to play the Chiefs on a holiday here. I mean, you saw them drop one last year against the Raiders. Like I don't. Can I get them to 3-2?
Yeah.
All right.
It's end of the season. Tomlin
closing it out strong. 3-2. A little optimistic.
Sean, that game is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's still one of the great home field.
It is. And then a home game against the Bengals. So I'll go 3-2, closing it out at 11-6. Britton, how say you? Last 5 here for your Steelers.
Well, I just want to say everyone's talking about how hard this schedule is. They're the only team in the league that's got a 10-week preseason because it really doesn't start till they get into the division. That's just who they are. That's what they're preparing for in training camp right now. All those other games are just warm-ups for this slate. And I think Mike Tomlin loves the fact that he gets to play all of the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns all in rapid succession again and again and again. I think, though, I'm going to say that the Eagles game, I don't think that they're going to be up for that. I don't think they're going to care. There's not going to be any Pennsylvania state pride fighting for the championship. I think that, it's sandwiched between 2 division games that they really care about much more than that one. And then the Chiefs game too. Mahomes kind of is he's got the right skill set for beating basically every defense, but especially the Steelers defense, because as you know, they usually have some like average corners. They've got a really good safety. All their pass D is based on the pass rush, and the way that Mahomes moves smartly in the pocket kind of really dampers their ability to beat the Chiefs. So I'm going to say that they're probably 2-3 in this section. They kind of slow on a sour note, but also it depends on what the Steelers record is at this point, because if they need to win 5 games in a row to get above 500, they're going to win 5 games in a row to get above 500. It's going to happen.
I know. So, it sounds dumb, but they always do it.
Yeah, it's just that's what Tomlin cares about. And again, I think that the schedule is way overblown because everyone's like, "Oh man, Browns, Bengals, Ravens." Like, "Oh, these are tough teams. They're good teams. They have to play them all back to back to back. Lots up the road. Blah blah blah." These aren't tough teams for the Steelers. If you look at their division record under Mike Tomlin, like he's far and away the best divisional record in this league. I mean, they were 10-7 last year and 5-1 in the division.
Also worth noting that they all have. I mean, they all have an earlier division, but it's like they have similar looking schedules. The rest of the division, so all of the divisional games are going to look tricky for all of the teams in this division. It is a funny thing. When you want to frame something, it's very easy to frame it with all the data available to us, Sean.
So final answer, Britton, last 5. What are you doing?
I'm going to say 2-3.
2-3. So a reasonable 10-7 for Britton. Britton, he's a man of logic. He knows the Steelers, and 10-7. Again, they were 10-7 last year. Getting them to 10-7 makes a lot of sense this year. Shout out to Tomcat. He has them 6-11.
Oh, the chat's fired up about it.
Yeah, there's some debate back and forth. Appreciate Tomcat taking a strong stance. To me, them getting below 500 is tough because of the institution, because of guys like TJ Watt. Now, who knows? Maybe Tomlin does. He's one of these years he is going to have a, oh my God, everything hits the fan year. But
when Burrow, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar are all banged up, who's going to be laughing?
Justin Fields laughing all the way to the bank. All right, we're going to get to our best bets. Our best bet when it comes to projections, models. You got it all over at Rhythm, the place for AI sports picks and props. I'm knee deep in week 0 picks for their college football model, NFL picks. And again, if you've never built your own model, Rhythm makes it very, very easy. Just click a couple buttons. Hey, these stats matter to me. These don't. This is what I'm looking for. And it builds a model and it runs all the numbers of past data. It'll show you like, hey, this is how well this model has done. And if you don't like building your own, you just want to use theirs, they got that as well. They've been doing a really good job in golf and WNBA. Cannot wait for college and NFL season. You get a free 7-day trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Last night went to the Phillies Dodgers game. Shout out to CJ Sullivan, gave us me and my wife a ride to the stadium. He had preferred parking. He had a secret gate he went in. It was a great experience, and I didn't even realize I was going to go to the game. I was like, oh, can we figure this out? But luckily, I got last minute tickets over on Game Time. I used that promo code SGPN. I got $20 off, and it is your go-to app for last minute tickets. I actually got it off the first time I signed up with Game Time, but still, the flash deals, the zone deals, the all-in pricing, they make it so easy, so simple, very easy. And of course, you got the Game Time guarantee. GameTime.co, promo code SGPN. Get you $20 off, or just download that Game Time app. Okay, Kramer, Britton, we're talking best bets here. I'm sure we're going to be optimistic. I put everyone down for the over 8.5 wins.
Check.
Division.
Check.
I will be sprinkling
Sean,
the division as well.
Can we have accounting free up some resources to parlay the Titans and the Steelers divisions?
Do we throw the Bucks in there?
Probably, yeah. I like that. All right,
retirement play.
Yes, get the ladder out. Get the ladder out.
Well, can I lead off with the Steelers' last undefeated team?
Okay, what is that at?
With that Charmin soft schedule, potentially they could go 8-0.
Yeah.
28-1.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Britton, can I put you down for that one as well? Does that sound intriguing?
I mean, it sounds beautiful. And also I'm one of the people, I don't know if this is against your religion or not, but like, if they're 6-0 and I've got a 28-1, then I will, start playing against them a little bit. Maybe it's with the spread, maybe it's with the teaser, try to get a little double dip there. But again, I just always look for those big numbers because again, everyone's like, well, mathematically, it's actually dumb to hedge and all this stuff. You know what? Not dumb, making money. So make it however you can because they're not just giving it out at the sports book.
That is a good counter.
I actually that's one of the rare cases where like it's the same for like futures. Like I don't always necessarily view a single game adjustment bet as a full hedge because I'm never going full hedge. Now in this case, I would be shocked,
especially if you can find a middle. If you're finding a middle, that is not hedging. That's slightly different.
If you can win both sides,
yeah.
Oh, that's actually a great loophole.
Yes,
great job.
Thank you.
Lawyers found the found a flaw in this.
It is fun to make fun of hedgers and calling them gardeners.
Yeah, it is. It is against my religion. So,
I don't hedge a ton, but again, to Britton's situation, like, hey, if you can start, playing against them, because obviously if they are 8-0, maybe some of these numbers move and all of a sudden they're favorites. And again, we don't like them covering as favorites historically. So, hey, AFC matchup, the AFC North, all of a sudden they're laying 4 points. No, thank you.
If they're 7-0. And they're playing the Giants week 8. Of course, I'm going to take a little piece of the Giants.
Oh, okay. Well,
on the money line, that's not a hedge. I love the Giants.
That makes sense. What else do you like in the market here for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
You want me, Britton?
Well, I was going to say something else to really make the sharps mad, if I may.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Teasing through 0 in the AFC North is a smart thing to do. They're all such close games. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my. And again, people are like, well, then if you're going to tease through 0, why don't you just money line? If they, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff where they'll say actually mathematically it's better. And it's like, okay, when there's 12 seconds left and the ball is bouncing around off of receivers and DB's hands and someone catches it, either it determines the game either way. Are you saying, well, mathematically I made the right play? So I will say this team, the way that Tomlin plays every game so close, teasing through 0 actually can be good.
That's when you play the Tomlin "I'm working here" meme.
I'm working here.
Exactly. Someone tries to explain the math on why it's not a good bet. You just reply with that. I'm fucking working here.
Yeah, because 0 is not a number. Did you know that? 0 is not a number.
Oh, I mean, I will say one of the things I have fantasized about. I think the podcast is coming out after we'll already be in Vegas, Sean. But is someone someone daring to go down a math conversation with me on something because they assume I'm some sort of donkey. I just can't wait. I mean, that's my dream. Oh, you want to talk math? All right.
What about any other future plays you like here, Britton?
Oh yeah, I've got a few, and I'll get to underdog last. Obviously, still 185 to make the playoffs when it's a team that's always in the playoff conversation, always fighting for that last spot or two. when the last couple of weeks of the season are up. But my favorite bet is one that was at William Hill in Nevada. Steelers divisional wins higher than 2.5, plus 100. Even money. I was going back year by year. I got to 2011 and it just got dumb because I'm like, no, they'd never lose more than 3 games in this division. They've never finished last in this division as long as it's existed. And even when they have quote unquote down years, an 8-8 year in 2019, they were 3-3 in the division. And I said last year, 10-7, half their wins came in the division, came in this vaunted division that is so difficult to win in. So I think that that's just kind of a total outlier, and it's a little smaller market that not as many people are really even aware exists. So I think that's why there's such good value there. Next time you're in Vegas, I would recommend.
That's everywhere. That you can get that anywhere. It's I know DK fan. They all have some version of it. Plus 100, plus 105. It's. I'm shocked that it's not. They're just. They forget who Tomlin is every year, Sean. Like the nerds making these numbers. You know what it is? This is the intern markets. They give the divisional markets to the interns. That's why they're
like, you're just cutting your teeth. Take a look here. They're too young. They don't have the history with Mike Tomlin.
Do it with 6 games first.
It's just funny because people are, they're trying to be smart about it. They look at the preseason spreads and they're like, well, this makes sense. And it's, how do we not have a big enough sample size on Tomlin to understand that that spread is pretty irrelevant in the division? And then also, what's the other adage you hear a lot of sharps say in the NFL is that if you're going to play the underdog, you might as well play the money line. You know what I mean? How many times are you going to be tempted to take the Steelers as a 4 or 5 point road underdog in the division, and you're like, I'm going to take the points, and then they're going to win that game outright, and you're like, oh, I wish I had the money line. So it's kind of competing sharp angles, which is the the schedule nerding out, but also with the look ahead lines, but then also like, hey, if you're going to play the underdog, you might as well play the money line.
Well, with Tomlin, you got to play, you just got to assume I would say this approach betting on Tomlin as if he's standing next to you. Do you really want Tomlin to look over your shoulder and see a +5? No, get that money line out.
No.
Don't be soft. Come on. Donate to the church.
I'll go to my second best bet next, though, which is Freiermuth higher than 3.5 receiving touchdowns, plus 115. I mean, again, Russell Wilson loves tight ends. He really does. As I said, he made Will Dissly kind of a household name just because of the primetime games where all of a sudden he's the third string tight end is breaking up the sideline. Obviously, Freiermuth is the guy that's going to be on the field the most out of all of these players. It would involve Russell Wilson throwing over the middle, but again, he's a big target, and they have enough running backs that it's not like they could just blanket the tight end in the red zone because Arthur Smith's not afraid to pound the rock. So I think that there's going to be a lot of good matchups for Freiermuth as a red zone target. And as you alluded to earlier, he also is a pretty good seam threat and deep threat for a tight end. If Ayuk is there, people are going to worry about that, but I think it honestly helps Freiermuth, especially in the red zone, because you've got to pay a lot of attention to Pickens going up for jump balls. Ayuk, obviously, great route runner, great athlete. So I think Freiermuth is going to get plenty of looks to get higher than 3.5 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, I co-sign that one.
Co-sign that one. Co-sign your division play.
It feels a little safer than the yards for whatever reason, but I think Freiermuth's just not priced for what he's going to be in this offense. I think, yeah, certainly your early breaking of the Ayuk news could definitely hurt me there, but I would bet on Freiermuth being a guy. Like, we're going to get to hear the announcers say, no, they're not booing. They're saying Muth. What do you got, Sean?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm obviously high on Freiermuth. I think even like if you're looking for a crazy long shot, Pat Freiermuth to lead the AFC North in receiving touchdowns. They don't have the price on that, but that you're going to get crazy odds. And, Freiermuth did have an outlier season. Like his first year was 7 touchdowns. Him getting to 11 touchdowns, I think, is a possibility. If they end up using him a ton in the red zone, I think there is a ceiling case for Freiermuth touchdowns, not yards, but touchdowns. We'll see what they price that at. That would be the only one I'm looking to add. But last undefeated division, over 8.5 wins, make playoffs, the division wins. Like this is who they are. This is how they make us money.
Any interest in Pickens?
I don't know. Pickens, I'm not touching as much.
His touchdown total, he went over last year.
Yeah. What do you like any Pickens stuff?
Put me down for Pickens touchdowns too. I I mean, they threw for 17 touchdowns with that abomination of a quarterback situation with Arthur Smith in Atlanta. No, last year I certainly think that the idea that these two, like Freiermuth and Pickens, ending the season with like 8 and 5 touchdowns seems very conservative. I have no problem projecting that.
So George Pickens over how many touchdowns are in?
4.5.
4.5.
Well, one of those will be my underdog play. Those are 2 available on underdog as well. So
okay.
Yeah. Right. So we can chop it up if you want to keep chopping stuff.
All right. I'll give you Freiermuth as a regular play and Pickens as your underdog play there. Right?
Perfect.
But I'm copying Britton's, and because even the hire is a little spicy there. So always adding a little spice to my slip. Let's take a look here, see what we got for our best bets. I mean, big picture, we're high on the Steelers.
Well, I gotta say, I got one more. I got one more little
awesome
that I'm in.
What else you got?
You know, I'm just so excited that I can be optimistic with some new change in Pittsburgh and all that. So Najee Harris 1,000+ rushing yards is +180, and Jaylen Warren 1,000+ rush yards is +600. I'm taking both. I'm taking both. One of these guys is getting 1,000 yards, and there is a real chance that both could. I mean, Najee was 1,035 last year, and Warren was at 784 last year. Obviously, we expect there to be more rushing here, and I actually expect Warren to be the lead back in a lot of games this season. I think that Najee Harris is good. A lot of people are like, oh, he's so slow. He's so slow. It's like, no, he's not slow. He's just really indecisive. The real problem with Najee's game is that when the play blows up, he's really bad at getting back to the line of scrimmage or getting 1 or 2 yards. He's like, oh, I'm going to go Pop Warner mode and try to make 9 guys miss, which is not going to work in the NFL. But obviously on big plays, he looks good. He actually moves pretty well for his size. All things considered, it's just his problem is getting those tough yards when the play isn't developing. And Warren is the complete opposite of that. You know, there could be 9 D tackles in front of him, and he's going to lower his head and get a yard somehow. So I think both of these guys, though, have a real shot at getting 1,000 yards. And I think that at least one of them is going to get 1,000 yards about 90% of the time. So I would say playing both is a good way to kind of, I hate to say it, lock in a profit, but I think that you're going to be, by week 12, you're going to be looking at these guys' rushing numbers and say, oh man, I can't believe it was plus money for both of them to get 1,000 yards.
I would love to be able to take Justin Fields to have the most rushing touchdowns in the division.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All the AFC, a lot of the AFC North division stuff. And I'm co-signing Britton's take, because again, if one of them gets hurt, well, then you're in a very good spot to get 1,000. I mean, maybe there's this small window where like they both are like 9 something, but I'm with you. And even if you had to choose one, I don't mind the Jaylen Warren at 6-1. And obviously I like the Najee too. Najee is going to get the volume.
That's a lock. Yeah. That's a crazy plus money bet. Maybe we talk to Benson out at the Circa and see what we can do about this. No one's listing Justin Fields and even the overall most rushing touchdowns market. I would take Justin Fields to have the most rushing touchdowns in the entire league.
Well, you need like 200 to 1, right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Give me the crazy price. That's what I'm here for.
Don't say whatever, because an offshore is going to list it at 21 now.
No, I'm not going to take 20 to 1, but I would imagine he's got.
Well, he's not even named a starter.
Yeah, but Sean, when he scores on the
I'm with you.
In week 1, when he has like 10 plays and he scores 2 touchdowns, we're gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, him having some sort of like Taysom Hilly type role, I think, is very much in the realm of possibility.
I just can't wait.
The Steelers invented that. Don't you remember a guy named Slash?
Yeah.
Cordell Stewart.
We've got a long history of using athletes to score points. I mean, Antoine Randall, former college QB, turned into a wide receiver. Hines Ward was a college QB. So there is a lot of, or high school QB, but there's a lot of history of just getting the job done with guys, no matter what there is, because everybody's a role player on this team. I said that earlier, and they are all a role player. If Justin Fields' role is to, make the defense indecisive in the red zone, then that's what they're going to do with him.
So we've only spoken about defensive player of the year once.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's the last thing we at least I needed. TJ Watt is plus 550. Any interest in taking the chalk on TJ Watt Defensive Player of the Year? Because he's obviously winning it. If my version of the season happens,
Yeah, I mean, why not? I don't have enough Steelers bets. Because
and I'll probably
he's chalk, but he's chalk for a good reason. I mean,
You should have won it last year.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. It's like the makeup
that's a good
call.
point. I mean, he had 19 sacks and didn't win it last year. So yeah, run it back at plus 550.
And one more, but so far I have Max Crosby and TJ Watt, and I'm gonna have one more on the season.
Okay.
Defensive player.
Yeah, I like no
more bets for the Steelers. I
like Jaylen Carter. We'll see. I'm seeing Circa's at like 65 to 1. Still like that, but it was as high as 100 to 1 earlier. Britton, appreciate you hopping on. Here are our best bets. Kramer, the super fan, 12-5. I'm 11-6.
Thank you.
Britton coming in at 10-7. Make sure you follow Britton on X at Britton Hess. Give out a lot of fun plays
look at
here.
all these bets we have.
I know. We almost
Sean,
need
your
a second.
font's tiny.
Almost need a second.
How did you get more than me? What the fuck?
Well, I gave myself Jaylen Warren and Najee.
Make playoffs too.
Yeah, and I squeezed in the make playoffs.
I didn't feel that was necessary.
Doesn't fit your value. But yeah, a ton of great bets. And Daily Dog. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Dog. If you're watching the video, you can see Britton's logo. Britton attacks the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em every Monday through Friday. So you wake up, you're like, hey, I want a little action on Underdog. Britton will walk you through the slate, what he likes, what to tie it to, some spicy plays. He tosses in some season-long stuff, some homers for people who enjoy the and so great follow on X as well at Britton Hess. Britton, appreciate the time. Kramer.
Yes.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green. He's Ryan.
I'm working here.
Kramer, let it ride.